The burgundy liquid seeps through the white fabric of my designer dress, a familiar sensation. My sister Vanessa's performative gasp cuts through the chatter at her engagement party. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Her lips curl into that same apologetic pout, the one I've seen in 2 lifetimes now. Behind her, my ex-fiancé Marcus glances away, feigning concern while his hand still hovers near her waist. They don't recognize the calm in my eyes. They expect tears, but this time, I smile. The deed to their precious vineyard sits in my purse, signed this morning. It's fine, I say, dabbing at the stain with a napkin. Some things are worth getting messy for. They have no idea what's coming. Again. I watch Vanessa's perfect eyebrows knit together in confusion. She expected me to crumble, to excuse myself to the bathroom where I'd sob into a hand towel while she and Marcus exchanged knowing glances. Not this time. Are you sure you're okay? She asks, voice honey-sweet with practiced concern that doesn't reach her eyes. I can lend you something to change into. I'm perfectly fine where I am, I say, taking a deliberate sip from my glass. The wine is from our family vineyard, the one they think belongs to them. In my first life, I discovered them together on a Tuesday. It was 2 weeks before my wedding to Marcus, and I'd come home early from a vendor meeting. The caterer had canceled, and I was upset. I wanted Marcus's reassurance that everything would be okay. I found their cars parked side by side in the vineyard lot. I assumed they were finalizing Vanessa's maid of honor speech. I still remember how the sunlight filtered through the blinds of Marcus's office, casting stripes across their entwined bodies on his desk. My wedding binder slipped from my fingers, the heavy thud announcing my presence before my voice could. Claire! Vanessa had thrown Marcus off her as if I might believe this was some kind of assault rather than what it clearly was. It's not. We didn't. Marcus didn't even try to deny it. He just stared at me with this look of annoyed inconvenience, like I'd interrupted an important business meeting. You weren't supposed to be here, he said, as if that was the problem. But the real humiliation came at Christmas. My mother had passed earlier that year, and it was the first holiday without her. Dad insisted we maintain traditions. During dinner, Vanessa clinked her glass, and I naively thought she was going to propose a toast to Mom. We have an announcement, she said, eyes glittering with triumph as she reached for Marcus's hand across the table. Marcus and I have realized that what we feel for each other is real. We're together now. Dad blinked a few times, then smiled uncertainly. But the wedding is off, obviously, Marcus interjected smoothly. Claire and I realized we weren't right for each other. These things happen. These things happen. As if finding your fiancé and sister fucking on his desk was an everyday inconvenience like a parking ticket or a dead phone battery. 3 months later, they insisted I join the family on the annual Vineyard tour. You can't hide away forever, Dad said. Your mother would want us to stay united. The tour was for potential investors, and since I technically owned part of the family business, I had to be there. It went fine until the cellar tour. I got separated from the group somehow, or so I thought at the time. I spent hours calling for help in that cold, damp cellar until dawn, when a confused worker found me shivering between the barrels. Later that day, Vanessa and Marcus announced their plans to continue the family legacy at the vineyard. We're thinking of building a home on the south slope, Vanessa told Dad, not even looking my way. The view is spectacular there. That's where Claire was planning to build, Dad said mildly. Vanessa just smiled. Plans change. They were already living in my future, stepping into the life I'd designed as if it had always been meant for them. 2 weeks later, I slipped on the cellar steps during a midnight inventory check. As I fell, I heard their whispers from the top of the stairs. The insurance money will help with the expansion, Vanessa said. Then darkness. You look good, Claire, really good. Diane reaches across the cafe table to squeeze my hand. I've been so worried about you. I smile at my supposed best friend, noting how her eyes keep darting to her phone screen. We've known each other since college. Shared apartments, secrets, heartbreaks. She was supposed to be my maid of honor before Vanessa insisted it should be a family affair. I'm doing well, I say, watching her carefully. How was the engagement party? I saw you in the background of some photos. She has the decency to blush. I didn't stay long. I just thought I should make an appearance. Keep an eye on things for you. Of course. I take a sip of my latte. In my last life, I believed her. I believed her when she said she was caught in the middle and trying to be there for everyone. I believed her right up until I found the text messages after I died. This time, I've been monitoring her social media with obsessive detail. Last week, she posted a photo of herself, Vanessa, and Marcus at a wine tasting. Planning the big day with these two. #Team Vanessa, #Vineyard wedding. The timestamp showed it was taken during the hours she told me she was at her mother's bedside in the hospital. But the real evidence came from the backup of Vanessa's phone that I'd managed to download after borrowing it during a family dinner. The text threads between them went back nearly a year. She still has no idea Vanessa had texted Diane 3 months before I caught them together in my first life. She's clueless as always, Diane replied. Just keep playing it cool. She never notices anything unless it's right in front of her face. They'd laughed about me, planned around me. Diane had even suggested good times for Vanessa and Marcus to meet when she knew I'd be busy with wedding planning. So, Diane says now, stirring her coffee absently, have you thought more about your dad's estate planning? Vanessa mentioned he's been talking about making some changes. Oh, I keep my voice neutral. What kind of changes? Nothing specific, she says too quickly. Just that he's thinking about the vineyard's future. Vanessa and Marcus want to expand using family money. They have some amazing ideas for the property. Family money, my inheritance. The vineyard shares that should be half mine. That sounds interesting, I say, smiling. I'll have to ask Dad about it. Don't stress him, Diane says immediately. You know how he gets when there's conflict. I nod sympathetically while noting how quickly she moved to protect their interests. In this life, I see everything so clearly. The way they all work together, the subtle team they formed against me, the enemy disguised as family and friends. Dad's hands tremble slightly as he pours the wine, but not a drop spills. 40 years of pouring has made the motion instinctive. The Cabernet glistens deep red in the crystal glasses that Mom used to polish every Sunday after church. You look tired, I say, studying his face across our formal dining table. The room feels too big for just the two of us. Mom's absence still fills the space like invisible smoke. Just the usual harvest preparations, he says. But I notice how the skin under his eyes has darkened, how his wedding ring now slides loosely on his finger. He's lost weight since I came back. Vanessa says you're considering changes to the ownership structure. I keep my voice casual, just a daughter interested in family business. His expression shifts subtly. She shouldn't be discussing that with you. We're both your daughters, Dad. Shouldn't I know too? He sighs, setting down his fork. Claire, you've never shown the same interest in the business side of things. Vanessa has a head for numbers, for growth. She's passionate about the vineyard's future. And I'm not? You're passionate about the wine, he corrects. About the craft. It's different. Your mother was the same way, artistic, focused on the product rather than the business. I feel the familiar sting. In our family, artistic has always been code for impractical. She's going to need security, he continues, not meeting my eyes. With the wedding, and they're talking about starting a family soon. And I don't need security? You know that's not what I meant. His voice holds that edge of impatience that always emerges when I push back. Vanessa is establishing her life with Marcus. They want to build on the South Slope, expand the visitor center. They have vision, my plans. The ones I shared with Marcus before he decided my sister was the better investment. I see. I take a long sip of wine, noting the subtle oak finish that my mother worked years to perfect. And what about my input, my inheritance from Mom? His expression hardens slightly. Your mother would want the vineyard to thrive, to grow. You didn't answer my question. He pushes back from the table, suddenly tired. Claire, you've always been too sensitive about these things. Everything isn't a competition between you and your sister. But it is. It always has been. And now I'm finally seeing the game clearly. As I help him clear the dishes, I notice the pill organizer on the kitchen counter. 7 little compartments for the week, each with morning and evening doses. The pills inside are unfamiliar, not the heart medication he's been on for years. New prescription? I ask casually. Vanessa helps me sort them now, he says, waving dismissively. She's very organized. Calls the pharmacy, arranges everything. I just take what she gives me. I'm sure she does. I pick up the organizer, examining the pills. What are these for? Blood pressure, cholesterol, something for anxiety, he says vaguely. The doctor says I need to reduce stress. I make a mental note to check his medical records. Last time I trusted too much. I believed that family meant safety. I won't make that mistake again. The cold room smells of oak and tannic acid. Rows of barrels line the walls, each marked with harvest dates and varietals. I'm counting inventory, clipboard in hand, when I hear his footsteps. Claire, Marcus says, his voice carrying that same warm timbre that once made my heart race. I didn't expect to see you down here. I don't look up from my clipboard. Quarterly inventory. Someone has to do it. I could have handled that. He moves closer, and I catch his cologne. The same one I gave him for Christmas the year before we were supposed to marry. You shouldn't have to deal with the grunt work. I prefer to know exactly what we have. What you're trying to take from me. He leans against a barrel, watching me work. Marcus has always been undeniably handsome. Tall, with the kind of casual confidence that comes from never being told no. His dark hair is perfectly tousled, as if he just stepped out of a photo shoot rather than a business meeting. Your father mentioned you've been asking questions about the financial arrangements, he says finally. I hope you know that I only want what's best for the vineyard. For your family. Our family business, I correct him, finally meeting his eyes. Half mine, remember? He smiles, and for a moment I see the man I thought I loved. Of course, I never forget that. He steps closer, puts his hand on my shoulder. The touch is deliberate, lingering. You know, I've always valued your insight into the wine itself. No one understands the soul of this place like you do, Claire. In my previous life, this moment might have weakened me. That gentle pressure on my shoulder, the earnest look in his eyes. I once thought these gestures meant something. Now I recognize them as tools, as calculated as the spreadsheets open on his laptop across the room. I glance at his computer and notice a flash drive sticking out from the side. The screen shows financial projections for the vineyard, with my name notably absent from the ownership column. I'm thinking of hiring a financial advisor, I say casually, stepping away from his touch. Someone to review all the family holdings, make sure everything is properly documented. Mom's estate was so complicated, and with Dad's health concerns. The shift is subtle but unmistakable. His smile tightens, eyes narrowing slightly. That seems unnecessary. We have accountants who handle all that. Your accountants, I point out. I'd prefer a neutral perspective. You don't trust me. He says it as a statement, not a question. I smile sweetly. Trust but verify. Isn't that what they say in business? The moment I leave the cellar, I hear the soft tap of his fingers on his phone screen. A minute later, my own phone buzzes with a notification. He's accidentally included me in a group text. We need to speed things up. She's getting suspicious. In my first life, I missed all these signals. This time, I'm collecting evidence like vintage bottles, carefully, methodically, saving them for the perfect moment. The Harvest Festival has always been my favorite vineyard event. The air smells of crushed grapes and autumn leaves, and everyone dresses in harvest colors, burgundies, golds, and deep forest greens. Mom used to say it was when the vineyard showed its true soul. I've spent months preparing my new collection, a limited series of whites that I've been experimenting with, using techniques I studied in France. The bottles are labeled and displayed on a table near the entrance, each with tasting notes I hand-wrote on parchment paper. The crowd is impressive this year. Local businesses, loyal customers, and several wine critics I personally invited. Dad seems pleased with the turnout, though his smile doesn't quite reach his eyes as he greets guests. He's lost more weight, and his hands shake noticeably when he isn't concentrating on studying them. I'm explaining the fermentation process to a critic from Wine Enthusiast when Vanessa taps her glass with a fork. The sharp ringing cuts through the pleasant chatter, and heads turn toward the central table where she and Marcus stand. Thank you all for coming to celebrate this year's harvest, Vanessa begins, her voice carrying clearly across the courtyard. She's wearing a fitted emerald dress that highlights her slender figure, her dark hair falling in perfect waves down her back. "We have an extra special announcement to make today." Marcus slides his arm around her waist, beaming. "As many of you know, Vanessa and I got engaged last month. But we have even more exciting news to share." The pause is perfectly timed, practiced. "We're expecting." Vanessa places her hand over her still flat stomach. "The next generation of the Taylor family vineyard is on the way." The crowd erupts in applause and congratulations. Glasses are raised and Dad moves forward, tears in his eyes, to embrace them both. "A toast," he says, voice thick with emotion, "to the next generation of our legacy." He looks pointedly at Vanessa's stomach, then around at the vineyard that stretches beyond the courtyard. "To the future of everything we've built." I stand perfectly still, my wine glass halfway to my lips. This was calculated, the timing, the audience, all of it. My collection launch, which Dad had barely acknowledged when he arrived, is now completely forgotten. The critic who was praising my innovation moments ago is now hurrying to congratulate the happy couple. Marcus catches my eye from across the courtyard. As guests swarm around them with congratulations, he places his hand possessively on my sister's abdomen and smirks at me over the crowd. It's not just triumph in his eyes, it's a message. They're securing their claim to everything. Diane materializes beside me, smartphone already in hand. "Let's get a picture of you with the happy couple. This is going on Instagram right now." Before I can respond, she's steering me toward Vanessa and Marcus, positioning me beside them for what will undoubtedly be an awkward family photo. Her fingers fly across her screen, tagging me in every painful image. Later, as I slip away to use the restroom, I overhear two women I don't recognize at the sinks. "That's her, the sister," one whispers. "Poor Claire, always one step behind her sister," the other replies. "First her fiancé, now the family business. You think she'd take the hint and move on." I meet my own eyes in the mirror. They have no idea that I already did this once, that I know exactly where this path leads. That this time, I came prepared. The congratulatory hug I give Vanessa is perfectly timed for the cameras. I hold her just long enough, smile just wide enough. "I'm so happy for you," I say, and in the photos Diane snaps rapidly, I look like the supportive sister I'm pretending to be. The next day, I send a sterling silver rattle with the family crest engraved on the handle. The card reads, "To my future niece or nephew with all my love. Can't wait to meet you." It's expensive, tasteful, exactly what would be expected of a devoted aunt. Marcus calls to thank me. "That was unexpected," he says, curiosity evident in his voice. Vanessa was touched. "Of course," I say brightly. "Family is everything, isn't it?" 2 days later, I corner Dad in his study. "I've been thinking," I tell him. "With Vanessa focused on the baby and wedding planning, she'll have a lot on her plate. I'd like to take over the fall paperwork for the vineyard, vendor contracts, distribution agreements, all of it. Let her focus on the baby." Dad looks surprised, but pleased. "That's thoughtful of you, Claire. Are you sure you have time?" "Absolutely," I assure him. "I'm happy to help." When Vanessa calls to tentatively ask if I'd help with wedding planning, calling vendors, coordinating details, I enthusiastically agree. "I know all the best people," I remind her, "and I have all those contacts from when—" I let my voice trail off, as if the memory of my canceled wedding is still too painful to mention directly. "That's really nice of you," she says, suspicion evident in her voice. "Are you sure?" "Of course. What are sisters for?" I launch into ideas for color schemes and venues, playing the excited sister so convincingly that even I almost believe it. That night, I post on social media. "Beyond thrilled to announce I'm going to be an aunt. Congratulations to at Vanessa Taylor and at Marcus Fleming on your growing family. So much love coming your way. #blessed auntie, #family first." The likes and comments pour in, many expressing surprise at my apparent acceptance of the situation. The Vineyard employees who remember addressing and then unaddressing my wedding invitations 2 years ago give me sympathetic looks when I pass them in the fields. "You're handling this with such grace," one of the older women tells me as I inspect the vines. "After everything that happened," I smile sadly. "Life is too short for bitterness," I say. "Family is what matters in the end." If only they knew. The Vineyard office is silent at 2 a.m. Moonlight spills through the windows, illuminating dust particles that dance in the air as I pull another file from the cabinet. For 3 weeks now, I've been coming here after everyone leaves, carefully reviewing years of financial records, scanning documents, taking photographs of handwritten notes in Marcus's distinctive scrawl. The pattern emerged slowly at first: discrepancies in the sales figures, inventory that didn't match production records, a consistent shortfall in profits despite record visitor numbers. But then I found it. References to a company called Vetus Holdings receiving regular payments for consulting services. A simple business registration search revealed the truth. Vetus Holdings was registered to Marcus's cousin, but the banking details belonged to Marcus himself. For years, he's been funneling Vineyard profits through this shell company, preparing for the moment when he'd control enough of the business to hide these transactions completely. During the day, I play my role perfectly. Helpful sister, supportive daughter. But at night, I build my case. This morning, I met with Harold Winters, my father's original lawyer, the one who drafted his will after Mom died. The one Vanessa and Marcus have been trying to replace with their own legal team. "Your father created a secondary will," Harold told me, pulling a sealed envelope from his safe. "During a period last year when his medication was changed temporarily. He was clearer then, more like his old self. He asked me not to tell anyone until he either revoked it or—" He didn't finish the sentence. "May I see it?" I asked. "I can't show you the contents," he said regretfully. "But I can tell you it contains provisions protecting your mother's original vision for the vineyard. Your father was concerned about some of the changes being proposed." That afternoon, I meet with a real estate agent. The land adjacent to our vineyard, 50 acres that Marcus and Vanessa have been eyeing for expansion, is available. Using the inheritance my mother left me in a separate trust, I make an offer substantially above asking price, with a clause requiring absolute confidentiality about the buyer's identity. 2 days later, I call in an anonymous tip to the Agricultural Board about improper pesticide use in the North Fields, the section Marcus has been personally overseeing. I've documented the unmarked containers, photographed the runoff entering the groundwater. My final move is the most risky. While everyone attends a wine industry dinner in the city, I install tiny cameras in the main vineyard office, carefully hiding them in light fixtures and behind picture frames. The next day, I watch the footage on my laptop and strike gold. Vanessa and Marcus, heads together over my father's medical records. "The doctor says his confusion is getting worse," Vanessa says. "We need to accelerate the handover before he has another moment of clarity." Marcus nods. "The sooner he signs everything over, the better. We can't risk him changing his mind about Claire's role." "She's being so helpful lately." Vanessa sounds suspicious. "Do you think she knows something?" "What could she know?" Marcus laughs. "She's never paid attention to the business side. By the time she figures anything out, it'll be too late." I save the video file, encrypt it, and back it up in 3 different locations. Piece by piece, I'm assembling the weapon that will dismantle everything they're building. The agricultural inspectors arrive during the VIP tour for potential investors. I've made sure to schedule a group from a prestigious wine collective in Napa, people whose interest could double our distribution network. Marcus has been preparing for this visit for months. I'm leading the tour through the fermentation room when the commotion starts. Men in official jackets appear at the entrance, clipboards in hand, asking to speak with management immediately. "What's this about?" Marcus hurries over, trying to keep his voice pleasant for the investors' benefit. "We've received reports of non-compliant pesticide use," the lead inspector says, loud enough for everyone to hear. "We need to take samples from the Northfield water runoff immediately." The investors exchange concerned glances. Sustainable organic practices are the cornerstone of premium wine production now. Any hint of chemical misuse is disastrous for a vineyard's reputation. "There must be some mistake," Marcus begins. But the inspectors are already moving toward the fields, pulling out sample containers. Later that afternoon, my phone rings. It's Marcus, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. "Did you know the expansion deal fell through?" he demands without preamble. "What?" "No. What happened?" I inject just the right amount of concern into my voice. "The neighboring land was unexpectedly purchased by someone else, above asking price, all cash offer." His breathing is ragged. We had everything lined up. The investors were going to finance it as part of their buy-in. Now the whole deal is in jeopardy. That's terrible, I say. Who bought it? That's the thing the seller won't say. Some confidentiality agreement. He pauses. Claire, we need that investment. The Vineyard's finances are tight right now. I had no idea, I say innocently. Maybe we should look at the books together, get a clear picture of where we stand? His hesitation speaks volumes. Let me talk to Vanessa first. She handles most of the financial planning now. 2 days later, Vanessa shows up at my cottage, her face pale despite the careful makeup. Harold says there's a second will, she says without greeting. Did you know about this? I widen my eyes. No, what second will? Dad apparently created another version last year. Harold won't tell us what's in it, but he says it could significantly impact succession planning, whatever that means. She paces my small living room. We need to convince Dad to revoke it before... She stops herself. Before what, Vanessa? Before things get more complicated, she finishes lamely. With the baby coming and the wedding, we need stability. The family business meeting the following week is a carefully orchestrated disaster. I arrive early, arranging documents on the conference table. Production reports, sales figures, and inventory counts. Dad sits at the head of the table, looking confused as Vanessa and Marcus exchange nervous glances. I've been reviewing our numbers while handling the paperwork, I begin innocently, and I notice some discrepancies I hoped you could explain. I slide the documents across the table. For example, these payments to Vetus Holdings for consulting. What exactly do they consult on? I can't find any reports or deliverables. Marcus clears his throat. It's a specialized service, very technical. Technical enough to need $50,000 a month? I ask, keeping my tone curious rather than accusatory. I'd love to see what we're getting for that investment. Dad frowns, reaching for the papers. I don't recall approving this vendor. Vanessa jumps in. You did, Dad, remember? Last summer when we discussed modernizing the production tracking system? I would have read the contract, Dad insists, his voice stronger than I've heard it in weeks. Show me the signed agreement. The silence that follows is deafening. By evening, my phone is blowing up with texts from Diane. What did you do? They're freaking out about everything falling apart. I don't respond. The seeds I've planted are already sprouting. The vines of justice grow slowly, but they're taking root. This time, I won't be the one buried beneath them. It happens faster than I anticipated. 3 weeks after the disastrous business meeting, Dad collapses in the vineyard. Not a stroke, the doctors say, but concerning enough to keep him under observation. I'm at the hospital immediately, bringing his favorite pajamas and the book he's been reading. I step out to get coffee, and when I return, Vanessa and Marcus are in Dad's room, a doctor I don't recognize beside them. Claire, Vanessa's voice is professionally sympathetic. Dr. Reynolds has some concerns about Dad's condition. There may be some cognitive issues we need to address. Dr. Reynolds nods solemnly. Your father appears to be experiencing periods of confusion and paranoia. Has he made any unusual accusations recently? The trap snaps shut around me before I even realize it's been set. Dad has been increasingly vocal about the financial discrepancies I pointed out, demanding answers about transactions he never approved. We've filed for temporary medical conservatorship, Marcus says, sliding a folder across the tray table toward me. As next of kin, Vanessa will handle your father's medical decisions until he recovers. The doctor feels it's for the best. I'm also his next of kin, I point out quietly. Vanessa smiles tightly. But I'm the one he lives with, remember? You moved out last year. The court tends to favor the caregiver. I hadn't moved out in this lifetime. That was before, in my previous life. But looking at Dad's medical chart, I see they've listed his address as Vanessa's house on the Vineyard property. A house purchased with Vineyard profits that should have been half mine. The next blow comes when I arrive home to find the locks changed on the family house where Dad and I live. A neatly packed suitcase sits on the porch with a note. We've moved Dad's things to our place for his safety. His medical team advised against him living in the main house with all those stairs. Your things are in this bag. Call if we missed anything. V. 3 days later, I'm summoned to Vanessa's house for what they call a family meeting. Diane is there, sitting beside Vanessa on the sofa, while Marcus stands by the fireplace like some patriarch in a Victorian novel. "We're worried about you, Claire," Vanessa begins, her hand protectively over her slightly rounded belly. "Your behavior lately, the accusations about the business, the late nights at the office, the constant questions about Dad's health. We think you might still be processing the grief from your mother's death," Marcus continues smoothly. "It can manifest as paranoia, conspiracy theories." Diane leans forward, her face a mask of rehearsed concern. "We're all worried about you, Claire. These conspiracy theories about your sister, about Marcus taking money from the business, it's not healthy." "I've simply been asking questions," I say calmly, "about discrepancies I found in the financial records." "See?" Vanessa gestures toward me. "This is exactly what we mean. You're becoming obsessed with finding problems where there aren't any." The final betrayal comes when I try to visit Dad in the hospital the next day. A nurse stops me at the door. "I'm sorry, Miss Taylor, but you're not on the approved visitor list." "There must be a mistake. I'm his daughter." She checks her tablet again. "The medical conservator has restricted visitors. Your father needs calm and stability right now." Through the half-open door, I catch a glimpse of Dad sleeping, looking smaller than I've ever seen him against the white hospital sheets. "I understand your concerns," I tell the therapist Vanessa has selected for me. "The office is expensively bland. Beige walls, abstract art, a box of tissues positioned strategically beside the client chair. I've been under a lot of stress since Mom died." Dr. Patterson nods encouragingly. "Grief can manifest in unexpected ways. Sometimes we look for someone to blame." "Maybe that's it," I agree, wiping away a carefully manufactured tear. "I just miss her so much. And now with Dad sick too." I attend every session, speak openly about my anxiety and misplaced suspicions. I accept Dr. Patterson's suggestion that I take some space from family stress and move into a small apartment in town. When Vanessa and Marcus present preliminary paperwork to streamline the Vineyard's management structure, documents that would effectively remove me from any decision-making role, I sign without argument, though I make sure to request my own copy for my records. At the Vineyard, I accept a reduced role without complaint. When Marcus suggests I work in the tasting room rather than handling production, I smile and say I've always enjoyed interacting with customers. "You're being very reasonable about all this," he says, watching me carefully. "I appreciate it." "I just want what's best for the Vineyard," I tell him, "for the family." Every day, I send a text message to Vanessa asking how Dad is doing. I never demand to see him, never threaten legal action. I simply express concern, ask if he needs anything, tell her to let him know I'm thinking of him. I start a wine blog that reviews local vineyards, including our own. My reviews are fair, knowledgeable, focusing on the craftsmanship and history. I never mention the family drama, never hint at any problems behind the scenes. Instead, I build a reputation as someone who understands wine, who appreciates tradition while embracing innovation. "Your blog is getting quite popular," Vanessa mentions when she stops by the tasting room one afternoon. Her pregnancy is showing now, a neat bump beneath her expensive maternity dress. "Just a hobby," I say with a shrug. "Keeps me busy." She studies me, trying to detect any hint of resentment or scheming. Finding none, she relaxes slightly. "You seem better. The therapy must be helping." "It really is," I agree. "Dr. Patterson has helped me see things more clearly." What Vanessa doesn't know is exactly how clearly I now see everything. "I'm concerned about the relationship dynamic here," Dr. Patterson tells me during our 6th session. The recorder in my purse captures her every word. "Some of what you've described about your sister's behavior toward you sounds potentially manipulative. I've been carefully building rapport with her, sharing just enough real emotion to seem open while steering our conversations toward Vanessa's actions. Today, I finally broached the subject of Dad's medication. I noticed changes in his behavior after Vanessa started managing his pills," I say carefully. "He became more confused, more pliable." Dr. Patterson frowns. "What kind of medication is he on?" "I don't know exactly. She arranges everything with the doctors now." "And no one has given you a list of his prescriptions?" "As his daughter, you have a right to that information." They've implied I'm too emotionally unstable to handle his care, I admit. She makes a note in her file. Claire, would you mind if I speak with your father's primary physician? I'd like to understand the full picture of what's happening. Of course, I say. Anything that helps Dad. By our 10th session, Dr. Patterson has compiled enough concerns that she feels ethically obligated to document them. The isolation of an elderly parent, restricted access to family members, sudden changes in medication without clear medical necessity, these are warning signs I cannot ignore. Meanwhile, my position in the tasting room proves unexpectedly valuable. I interact directly with customers, building relationships with our best clients and distributors. I learn their preferences, remember details about their families, send handwritten thank you notes after large purchases. Claire has such a wonderful way with the guests, I overhear one of the longtime employees telling Marcus. Sales are up 15% since she started working the room. Marcus forces a smile. She's always had a knack for the hospitality side. What he doesn't know is that I've been quietly informing our top 10 distributors that I'm the one they should contact directly for orders and questions. Just to streamline communication, I explain, giving them my personal cell number. We want to make sure nothing falls through the cracks. 3 months after Dad's hospitalization, I meet with a different lawyer, Elaine Moss, a specialist in elder care law recommended by Dr. Patterson. Based on what you've shared, we have grounds to file for a conservatorship evaluation, Elaine explains. We're not trying to replace your sister as conservator yet. We're simply requesting that the court appoint an independent evaluator to assess your father's condition and current care arrangement. Will I be able to see him? I ask. Absolutely. The evaluation process requires interviews with all immediate family members and observation of the current living situation. While the legal process begins, I continue building my wine blog. What started as a cover has grown into a respected voice in the local wine community. I meticulously review every vineyard in the region, except when it comes to our own products, I become subtly critical. The 2023 Taylor Family Reserve Cabernet shows potential but lacks the complexity and depth of previous vintages. Notes of unripe fruit and an unfortunate tannic imbalance suggest rushed production decisions. 78 1/100ths. The comments pour in, with other wine enthusiasts noting similar observations. Without explicitly stating it, I'm creating a public record of the vineyard's declining quality under Marcus and Vanessa's management. One night, I receive a text from an unknown number. This is Nina, your father's night nurse. Your sister doesn't know I'm contacting you. Your father has been asking for you. If you want to visit, I'm on duty. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The house alarm code is 4821. 2 days later, I slip into Vanessa's house while she and Marcus are at a prenatal appointment. Nina meets me at the door, finger to her lips. He has good days and bad days, she whispers, leading me to the guest room that's been converted into a medical space. Today is a good one. He's been lucid all morning. Dad's eyes widen when I enter. Claire, is that really you? I rush to his side, taking his frail hand in mine. It's me, Dad. I'm here. They told me you were away getting treatment, he says, confusion clouding his features. That you were too unstable to visit. I'm perfectly fine, I assure him. How are you feeling? He glances toward the door nervously. Strange, foggy, but clearer when Vanessa isn't here. He lowers his voice. I think something's wrong with my medication. I feel drugged and confused whenever she gives me the pills, but better when the nurse does it. Have you said anything to the doctor? What doctor? I only see someone Vanessa brings in. He doesn't ask me questions, just talks to her about me like I'm not there. His grip on my hand tightens. Claire, something's not right. I don't remember signing papers, but Vanessa says I did. Important papers about the vineyard. I stroke his hand. Don't worry, Dad. I'm taking care of everything. The court-appointed medical evaluator arrives unannounced at Vanessa's house on a Wednesday morning. I'm purposely absent, letting the process unfold without any appearance of interference from me. That evening, Vanessa calls, her voice shaking with rage. Oh, what have you done? I don't know what you mean, I say calmly. Don't play innocent. Some doctor showed up today with a court order to evaluate Dad and take blood samples. They're testing his medication levels. They practically accused me of drugging him. That sounds serious, I reply. What did the doctors say? Like you don't know, she hisses. This has your fingerprints all over it. 3 days later, the preliminary report confirms what I already knew. Dad's blood contains concerning levels of sedatives not prescribed by his official primary care physician. The court immediately issues a temporary restraining order preventing Vanessa and Marcus from making any medical or financial decisions on Dad's behalf while the investigation continues. The same week, 3 of our major distributors email Marcus declining the latest shipment, citing quality concerns. Each message includes a polite note. We've arranged to speak directly with Claire about future orders. The backlash spreads quickly through our small wine community. At a charity auction for the local hospital, Diane approaches me for the first time in months, clearly intoxicated. "You think you're so clever," she slurs, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "Acting all innocent while you destroy your sister's life, after everything she and Marcus have done for you." Several people turn to stare as I remain calm. "What exactly have they done for me, Diane? I'd love to hear." "They protected you, covered for you when you were falling apart after your mother died. And this is how you repay them?" Her voice rises. "By making up lies about them drugging your father? By stealing their business contacts?" "I think you've had enough to drink," I say quietly. "Let me call you a ride home." "Don't patronize me." She knocks over a glass of red wine, spattering droplets across the white tablecloth. "You've manipulated that therapist, turned her against Vanessa. You've always been jealous of your sister, always wanted what she has." A small crowd has gathered now, whispering as Diane continues her tirade. By morning, her public meltdown is the talk of the wine community, along with her inadvertent confirmation of the allegations against Vanessa. The following day, Marcus appears at my apartment door, his confident facade cracking. "We need to talk," he says, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "This has gone far enough." "Has it?" I pour myself a glass of water, not offering him one. "The conservatorship hearing is in 2 weeks," he says. "This will destroy the Vineyard's reputation regardless of the outcome. Is that what you want? To burn down everything your parents built?" "I want my father to be safe," I reply simply, "and the business to be run honestly." He runs a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration I once found endearing. "Be reasonable, Claire. We can work this out between us, without courts and investigations, without more public spectacle. What are you suggesting?" "A compromise. We drop the legal proceedings, you get a seat on the management board, full access to your father, and a percentage of profits going forward." "What percentage?" He hesitates only briefly. 25%. I laugh. "Of what is already half mine by inheritance. That's not a compromise, Marcus." His expression hardens. 30%, final offer. I say nothing, letting the silence stretch between us. Finally, Vanessa calls that night. 50-50, she says without preamble. "We split everything equally. The management, the profits, all of it. Just drop the investigation." "And Dad?" "He stays with us, but you have